Today's program is brought to you by OTCStockShark.com. For the latest and greatest OTC and Pink Sheets information, sign up for your account at OTCStockShark.com. Thank you for tuning in to TBC Today. I'm Brandon Vincent.
And I'm Angelina Soriano.
In financial news, a long phase-in period for tighter requirements on bank capital ratios helped buy stocks and risky assets, sending the financial stocks and the euro higher. The Dow Jones Industrial Average finished up 81 points, or 0.78%, to 10,544, off slightly from the day's morning highs. Financials led the charge after banking regulators in Basel, Switzerland, over the weekend agreed to phase in new restraints on lenders over more than 8 years, a longer horizon than expected, which shouldn't immediately affect bank earnings or lending. JP Morgan Chase rose 3.4% and Bank of America gained 3%, while Citigroup and Goldman Sachs advanced 2.1%. In U.S. news, the photo of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. riding one of the first desegregated buses in Montgomery, Alabama was taken by Ernest Withers. He was the only photojournalist to document the entire trial in the murder of Emmett Till, and he was there in room 306 of the Lorraine Hotel on the night that Dr. King was assassinated. But now an unsettling asterisk must be added to the legacy of Ernest Withers, one of the most celebrated photographers of the civil rights era. He was a paid informant by the FBI. The Commercial Appeal in Memphis published the results of a 2-year investigation that showed Mr. Withers, who died in 2007, had collaborated closely with 2 FBI agents in the 1960s to keep tabs on the civil rights movement. It was an astonishing revelation about a former police officer nicknamed the original civil rights photographer, whose previous claim to fame had been the trust he had amongst high-ranking civil rights leaders, including Dr. King. From at least 1968 to around 1970, Mr. Withers, who was black, provided photographs, biographical information, and scheduling details to 2 FBI agents in the Bureau's Memphis Domestic Surveillance Program. The reports obtained by the newspaper under the Freedom of Information Act and posted on its website, a clerical error appears to have allowed Mr. Withers' identity to be divulged. In most cases, in the reports, references to Mr. Withers and his informer number have been blacked out, but in several locations, the FBI appears to have forgotten to hide them. The FBI said that it was not clear what had caused the lapse in privacy and was looking into the incident. Civil rights leaders have responded to the revelation with a mixture of dismay, sadness, and disbelief. Others were more forgiving. Many details of Mr. Withers' relationship with the FBI remain unknown. The Bureau keeps files on all informers, but it has declined repeated requests to release Mr. Withers, which would presumably explain how much he was paid by the FBI, how he was recruited, and how long he served as an informer. In international news, the Obama administration is debating whether to make Afghanistan's President Hamid Karzai a more central player in efforts to root out corruption in his own government, including giving him more oversight of graft investigators and notifying him before any arrests. Such a change would represent a significant shift in strategy for an administration that once pinned much of the blame for Afghan corruption on Mr. Karzai, but is now worried that escalating tensions between Kabul and Washington could alienate Mr. Karzai and sabotage the broader campaign to battle the Taliban. Some administration officials are concerned that such a move could undermine the efforts to hold officials in Kabul accountable for a web of corruption inside the Afghan government. Efforts Mr. Karzai thwarted in recent weeks by intervening to have a top aide released from jail. In Kabul, American and Afghan officials said that new corruption prosecutions had ground to a halt as a result of a dispute within the government over the limits of American-backed anti-corruption teams that have pursued Afghan officials. A Western diplomat said that the work of the Justice Department advisors helping with the corruption cases has paused.
You're stuck on a treadmill. You're making minimum payments on your credit cards, and you just don't get anywhere. Let Consolidated Credit tell you the truth. When credit card companies are charging high interest, it's virtually impossible to pay off your debt. Let's say you owe $5,000 and your rate is 21%. Of your $100 minimum payment, $87 is interest. It'll take you over 33 years to pay off that debt. Call Consolidated Credit. They'll get the credit card companies to reduce or eliminate your interest. Get off the treadmill. Get on with your life. Call Consolidated Credit. They're the freedom people.
Call now, 1-800-775-8196. 1-800-775-8196.
Consolidated Credit. When credit card debt is the problem, they're the solution.
In health news, the next time a man hands you a hot dog after making a run to the restroom at the concession stand at a Braves game, be careful. There's a good chance that he did not wash his hands, according to a report released by a group that sends spies into public restrooms in the name of science. Only about 2/3 of men observed wash their hands after using the restroom at Turner Field, the lowest rate of any of the locations cited in the observational study and survey on the hand-washing habits of Americans. The study, conducted every few years, was released by the American Society of Microbiology and the American Cleaning Institute at a microbiology conference in Boston. Some subjects were asked about their washing habits in telephone interviews. Others were watched by undercover observers in public restrooms. Some of what the sink spectators witnessed was filthy. Consider 20% of people using the restrooms at Pennsylvania Station and Grand Central Terminal in New York City did not wash their hands. Women tended to be more responsible hand washers than men. The restroom observers reported that 85% of men and women observed at public places in Atlanta, Chicago, New York, and San Francisco washed their hands after using the public restroom. The hand washing rate dips to 89% for those using the facilities at home. People using public restrooms in Chicago and San Francisco were the most frequent hand washers, with 89% of adults washing before exiting. The overall numbers are the highest reported since the study started in 1996. In tech news, Apple this morning debunked a juicy rumor that Steve Jobs vowed never to visit Japan again after security guards forced him to throw away Ninja stars that he attempted to carry onto his private jet. The rumor was first published by a Japanese tabloid and reiterated by Bloomberg, who quoted a spokesman confirming that a passenger was stopped at the end of July for carrying Japanese Ninja stars. However, Apple in a statement suggested that the CEO is not a ninja after all. Apple said Steve did visit Japan this summer for a vacation, but the incidents described at the airport are pure fiction. Steve had a great time and hopes to visit Japan again real soon. Apple hasn't been showing much love to Bloomberg lately. The publication reported in July that Jobs was warned about the iPhone 4's potential antenna problems. In green news, Plaquemines Parish officials have asked state wildlife officials to investigate what they said is a massive fish kill at Bayou Shawland on the west side of the Mississippi River. The fish kill was reported to the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, and the cause has not yet been determined. The fish were found in an area that has been impacted by the oil from the BP oil spill. The dead fish include pogies, redfish, drum crabs, shrimp, and freshwater eel. Other recent mass fish kills have been attributed to low levels of oxygen in the water, but parish officials are eager to know what exactly is causing these abnormally low levels. It's just another reminder that the BP oil spill is far, far from over. Thank you for tuning in to TBC Today. I'm Brandon Vincent.
And I'm Angelina Soriano.